This is the 23rd episode of the Deliberate Talks podcast. And hello everyone, this is Dakshin Adyanthaya welcoming you for yet another conversation. But this time, not with one, but two individuals today. As they say, conversations brew better when more people pour the milk. Well, no one said that really, but let's just believe we said it first. And while our narratives today will focus on the quarantine diaries and how content businesses are driving the trends, here are some uber cool trends to look out for in 2021 when it comes to new age content and storytelling. It's said that videos will continue to be the best ROI for brands. However, video content with customer stories or UGC continues to be accepted more authentically than the brand just speaking about its own story. With increasing platforms and global listenership, podcasts could pay off brands by providing higher profits and increased brand recognition. Also, innovative storytelling concepts will boom. Digital realities such as AR, VR, and immersive storytelling will open new possibilities for content creators. Creator-driven storytelling using influencers and thought leaders will continue to bring newness with new, longer, and shorter formats of content. And finally, brands will look to invest more on live streams, product reviews via influencers, testimonials, and brand films. This and more on New Age brands and their New Age content formats with our guest today, right after this intro.
This is the Deliberate Talks weekly podcast, powered by the Pixelated Egg Digital Ventures. Tune in every week to learn something new about digital marketing and entrepreneurship. And now, over to the voice of your host, Dakshin Adyanthaya. Enjoy the show.
So in today's episode, we have Rajesh Ramaswamy, who's also known as Ramsam, who comes with an 18 years of experience in the advertising industry. He was also voted as the Creative Person of the Year 2017. We also have Ujjwal Kabra, who's also known as the Rahul Dravid of the team, for his writing reliability and capacity to produce measured dialogues in Hindi, English, and Kannada. Individually and together, they have worked with various renowned brands like Tanishq, Paperboat, Britannia, Star Sports, Flipkart, Swiggy, Fast Track, and PhonePe. Here's introducing the team from The Script Room. Hello, gentlemen. Welcome to the Deliberate Talks podcast. It's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
So I read somewhere that the Script Room started as a WhatsApp group and led its way to becoming a registered company. Tell me more about the inception and what's with the name.
Okay, we are all from Low Lintas. I was heading Low Bangalore, and from a long time I've been wanting to, write for films and stuff like that. So I finally decided to take a break and move away from Low. And Ayappan, who's the partner there, he was in account management, and we kind of got along very well. And then even he moved on to Mullen and stuff like that. And then we were deciding, saying, dude, someday we should work together and do something. We were not very clear what we wanted to do.
Right.
And separate, what was happening was we all tripped on ads. We used to love advertising, and especially the ones which have great writing, even including, print ads or stuff which Freddie Birdie, you're also from advertising, right? So you would know. So we would really trip on the writing aspect of stuff. And it so happened that the kind of accounts that we were handling Low, were very TV heavy. Over the course of so many years, we did a lot of television ads. So we understood the joy and the merits of dialogue writing. So that naturally gravitated towards, how to appreciate ads. So we would appreciate, okay, there are some ads we know, man, who brought in what.
Right.
Oh, this is the director's film, man. Oh, but we would recognize which are the ones which are writer's film, So yeah, that was a nice dialogue, and that's so beautifully crafted and stuff like that. So we had a WhatsApp group, and we used to just keep sharing work over there and stuff like that. So then that was a parallel stuff that was happening. And then when we decided what do we do, so we first decided saying, okay, let's see what is it that we don't want to do. So then we slowly said, okay, let's not do this, or we're bored of this, we're bored of that. So it all started revolving around just writing. So we said, why can't it just be only about writing? Why should it be something else?
Right.
And so it was not necessarily for advertising. We said, whoever wants writing services, and where there's a joy in writing. and especially writing for the screen, because writing for a novel or writing for press is a little different. Writing for television or writing for the screen is slightly different. And that was another one thing which was very common. So that kind of led to this. So first we thought, should we call it writing room, writer's room, but then it was too generic. Finally, what does it want me to do? So we had some fancy names. Then we said, dude, why do we have to write some, invent a brand name and then explain what is it that we have? Can we have a brand name which very clearly tells, okay, this is what it is all about. So that's how the script room happened. Yeah.
Very cool. But honestly, you both have spent a long time in the industry. And with the script room, what problem are you really trying to solve which you couldn't do or bring together while working in bigger setups?
See, with bigger setups, you need to be a full service agency, so to speak, and you have all this 360 degrees print and blah, 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 blah. So a lot of stuff. So we were like, writing is what gives us most of the joy. So we were like, can we concentrate on just that part of it? Because you have to have a whole team and, the art and everything. So it's a very big setup which you're controlling and managing more than enjoying writing and doing creative work. So which is the main part we wanted to get rid of. So yeah, we were like, if this is what gives us most joy, why don't we just stick to this and tell people this is what we are here in it for? And if you want this part of the entire deal, please come to us and this is what we can do best. So that's where we left it at and said, let's concentrate only on this and get rid of all the other riffraff, and which is why we have the script room.
Yeah. And also see, most of it is becoming an ideas business, right? So even it can be a beautiful idea, and sometimes the client might need an idea and not necessarily a script. But the satisfaction for a writer, despite it being a great idea, at the end of it becomes very less, because there's no personal kicks, because there is no creation in it. So you say, for example, like I'm just using this as a loose example, say the Brave Girl. Okay, so the idea was to install a statue, but after having said that, there's nothing much for a writer to do. You have to just sit back and just so even if it wins accolades or whatever it does, that part of that writer in you remains unfulfilled, unsatisfied, and because I think that at the end of the day, I think the jamming process and that writing and the creation is what gives you the joy. So yeah, kind of.
Right. And that was kind of missing in the bigger setups?
Probably, yeah. So I'm not saying that it's missing there. I'm sure it's there also. But over here, since this is all we do, we better be more focused and better be better at it.
Right. Digging in more into your work now. Firstly, with the thinning lines between mediums, digital and offline kind of conversations that a lot of people have, how are new age brands focusing on brand or product storytelling with various mediums seamlessly together and more effectively?
It's a very loose term. So in the beginning, digital meant basically cheaper. Honestly, that's what it meant. Okay, TVC, this is the budget. No, we are going to put this only on the internet. And therefore, we can't afford so much. And this is the budget and whatever. Because they are not very sure of its outcome also. So they don't want to spend too much. And yeah, so then since it's cheaper, it slowly started saying, okay, finally, what's in it for me also? Those questions. Then people start getting giving you a little more freedom with it. Okay, since I'm not spending so much, okay, yeah, man, yeah, maybe we could do this. We could trip a little bit and stuff like that, because they were willing to experiment a little bit. And that kind of evolved, and now it's become a much more robust kind of a stuff, and it's given birth to another kind of a writing. If you say TVCs are a little more prim and proper, the digital ones are more experimentative, more free to express. Similar, like if you could take it like what happens between a theater release and an OTT, a variation of that happens even in advertising in digital. So even if, for example, if you see what Danish Sate does, even the branding part of it, it's a little more self-deprecating. It's a little more, it could be, even the brand is making fun of itself. Even he says, at the end of it, it's a sellout and stuff like that. So it's a little more, the audience is slightly different. They get it. There's a little bit of roast thrown in. So the formats and the kind of like sketches, it's not very so formatted. It's a little more, I think, free.
Right. And how are brands reacting to this? Like you mentioned sketches and other formats. It's a different approach while pitching for a TVC to pitching for a sketch. So how are brands really taking this pitch from you?
I think what's happened is the brands have started realizing that, okay, one, in your traditional advertising, what happens is you got a proposition and it's a slow burner. It builds over the years, and there's a stature to it, and there's some trust that comes along with it. All that happens, brand personality gets rewarded and stuff like that. But it's a very slow process. And in today's world, what's happening is if you're not there present every day in some way or the other, you're kind of forgotten, you're not top of mind, and people don't interact with you so much. So this medium, they have understood the need for being present every day, being there, topical, having a conversation with the audience, willing to get trolled a bit also in some ways. So roughly the need for buzz and the need for you to be present there and have a conversation and not just stick to just one topic. It could be about anything and everything, or it could be about just encouraging somebody else or being a part of some other activity.
Do you also get this from the client wherein say for digital, I can do performance marketing campaigns and get leads and acquisitions, right? But do you also get this conversation from the client when you pitch a story asking, how much business will I get in return?
That comes, I think, with everything. Even with the TVC also, they ask us how many people will walk into our showroom and everything. But yeah, they also look at it in terms of brand building in a way. And of course, if it can be more direct and like they say, call to action kind of thing would help, because like Ramsam was saying, well, one is a slow burner, the other one is a daily interactive thing. So if you can get them in, reel them in and leave them with a point of action, so-called point of action, then it's better for them. But it's just that, they also understand, it's not like magic that if you could guarantee that, everyone would be running behind us. And so, yeah, it's an understanding which clients also feel, yes, this might work, this may not. And like we all know, it's evolving every day. What's a big today was never going to work like a formula, can't sustain for too long.
Right. And another conversation is COVID bringing about a change in the way we looked at content production setups, right? There's no more a need of high value production setups for shooting a video. With restrictions, what are the kind of lessons one could learn from these situations as a client and as an agency as well?
At one point, production value was big, but finally, production values become a default. Like if you look at any TVC now, most of them are pretty well produced. A good looking film or its aesthetics and whatever, it's all like it's expected that has to happen. Then nobody's enamored by seeing some great production value anymore. So then it is about how entertained you got. Okay, so what is the new thing that you have to tell me? What is the new thing that you engage me with? And that does not necessarily mean a production value. And that itself gave birth to, okay, there are so many ways in which you can express a certain thought. It could be just a guy sitting with a guitar and just singing a song. It doesn't have to cost so much, but it conveys, it gives you a response, engages with you and stuff like that. So that the idea is the core. There is something that you want to express. There are various ways in which you can express it. And now because of the pandemic, you're forced to think of newer ways of expressing it. Now, everything doesn't have to mean that you need 100-member crew and you need 6 days of shoot and so much of edit and grading. And is there some other way? So it opens up, it forces you to think in a certain manner to overcome this constraint. But that, I think, overcome has now become, nobody thinks of it as overcoming. It's like it's there in your subconscious. So what can be done, what can't be done. It's a stupid thing to now sit and think of some montage film with some 100 drone shots. Now it's easing up a little bit. I'm saying at that point in time, nobody would think that way and nobody would expect you to think that way also. So you naturally thought of different ways of kind of communicating.
Right. And how did your organization come into the picture as the script room? Any examples, if you can share, how you created interesting storytelling work during COVID?
More than the client, I think one of the things that we did ourselves internally, as in trying to kind of capture this pandemic situation that we are in, we thought, what if we do some stories? Because even our producer, when we spoke to him, and a lot of actors sitting at home, we had seen a lot of celebrities did a lot of things because I think they're making money even during the pandemic through all of this and stuff. So if anyone can crack this format of how to make it happen while they're sitting at home, not involving huge production, obviously, so it looks also pretty cool and things can happen, stories can be said. So one of the things that we did, we all worked on some stories which very much kept in mind production, saying there is only so much we can do. And we came up with a set of 3 films which kind of captured the times that we are living in. So it's like an ode to this time, which I think 2 years when we see all this, we'll be like, hey, not bad, man. We at least did something at that point of time.
So we did 3 short stories, which is titled as QSQT, which is quarantine stories in quarantine times. And we all sat, since we all writers, we all sat in jam saying, man, can we think of some concept which can be shot within this, in this constraint, maybe, where the actors shoot themselves and we direct them over Zoom. And we jammed and we came up with various stories and we thought, okay, this can be done, which can be done, which can't be. And that led to, 3 stories. So we put out 3 stories over there. It's not brand related or anything. It was just for the fun of it. So that was something which we did. And in brand work, we also managed to direct a few ads, which Ujjwal himself recently
did one for an investment app, and the experience was brilliant because I was sitting here in Bangalore and the rest of the Mumbai, and with all the PPE kits, and you're only seeing your computer screen and only what the camera is showing you. Luckily, I had a very good crew and great Wi-Fi. So that's one of the biggest needs, because the connection goes, suddenly nobody knows what's happening and they can't even speak to you. So somebody else has to take over the mantle there and, do the stuff.
And it's brilliant if you're lazy also.
Yeah.
So who will go that, do all that, catch a flight and have some. Hey, why this seems deadly, man. Why can't we do this forever? Kind of.
Yeah. The pros and cons are there. So one is, yes, that you just are seeing the camera. So in between takes, you're also free to do whatever. Over there, not like looking at every tiny little thing, even in the background, and wondering and saying, make this change, do this. But over here, it's like, you just wait. When they say ready, you just look at it and then decide.
Yeah. We are sitting here ordering stuff from Swiggy and helping. And
Having said that, you try and restrict a lot of things. So everything is so tight on the day of the shoot, because what you would have said, we'll check costume, all this, everything is done before in this scenario. So that was like a great learning experience, and how you save time actually at the shoot. Because most of the time goes in, everybody temperature check, sanitizing. When one department goes, comes out, sanitizing again. All of this.
In fact, I have made one actor open his wardrobe and show it to me. So he is his own costume stylist. So it is good for us. And he has to do his own makeup, or she has to do her own makeup.
So they do their makeup and come on set and dress. So no more time wasted on all of that. Yeah, all these things were pretty new, and even as we were going along, we were figuring out day 1 of shoot, oh my God, these problems. So day 2, let's be careful about this. So a lot of these kind of planning things, which were a revelation in itself, but interesting. Yeah, like we said, now we are like confident we can do this also.
It increases. Also, it gives you one thing, man. At the end of the day, filmmaking should not be such a big deal, dude. As we go with everybody having phones and everybody with so many filters and everybody knowing, now pretty much now 7-year-olds are now learning coding and stuff like that. So I think filmmaking will now slowly get into, I think, even school syllabus. It shouldn't be a big deal in my head. It should just be another art form, and if you have something to put across over there, you should be able to do it without so much of tam-jam. And I think that's a good thing.
Nice. This is very fascinating to hear, to be very honest. And I'm keen on knowing, how do you approach a brief, a storyboard, and what goes really in the brainstorming room? Let's take an example of one of your clients, say Vedanthu, right? You recently onboarded the brand, and it's someone competing with the likes of Byju's, who has Shah Rukh Khan endorsing it. How do you approach the brand in such a situation and make it stand out?
I think the first thing which we try and crack is the tone of voice. I think that's something extremely important for us. Because I think earlier on in life, sometime much earlier, we realized that trying to make everything funny or trying to make something emotional is the only way for it to make it interesting. I think that's a stupid way of thinking about it. Anything, even a very direct, functional, demonstrative film can be interesting. What is the need, for this brand? So there we think very rationally, saying, dude, if I don't know anything about Vedanthu, and it's a new category, and me as a parent, I'm first reacting as a human being, as a parent, saying, man, I didn't know that, they have live online classes. So it's not like a YouTube where it's already there and, you just have to see a video. So it's not just video coaching. It is actually a live interactive platform. So those features which were told to us, we realized that this is an important thing for the world to know. Our job is to let that happen. presented in an interesting form. And what could that interesting form be without losing out on what needs to be said? So storyify the features in this particular case. And then now that we have Amir, what are the ways in which we can use Amir interestingly? So we had 3 ways of using it. And it was a very collaborative process where it is not one is better than the other or anything like that. There are 3 different approaches. And the way you go about selecting which one suits the most has got to do with a lot of collective opinion, right from Amir himself. He might have his own ideas or he wants to portray himself in a certain way. The client wants a certain kind of a tone of voice. Also with the logistics of how much can be achieved in a single day of shoot. Putting all together is when we arrived at the final thing. But when we come up with these different approaches, we only put it across saying that if this is picked, we know creatively 100% it will be interesting. Then comes the other things which are logistics and whether it's the right tone of voice or whether it ends up communicating something which the client wants to, or will this be a constraint or a restriction in that? Are we force fitting it and stuff like that?
And from this approach, like we mentioned, SRK for Byju's, do you also have discussions about the competition's approach and how differently to deal with it? Like I have heard a lot about how Amir Khan is involved so much in the work that he endorses. He brings his own idea and thought process. So was this a part of the discussion to stand out, and how did you really approach this?
So it was a perfect brand fit. We were also happy only that we have a star power, but comes with its challenges. How do you use a star? And they also have used him. Now there can't be a clash, it can't be like similar. And keeping that in mind, what are the cuts we take? How do we use Amir Khan well? How does the message come out really clearly, like the features? Because those are the most interesting things which differentiate them from Byju's or the other. All of this, yes, put together to make a route work is what we strive for. And we had 3 different, very interesting cuts. All 3, at the end, delivering on all of this. And then eventually took it to them, and that's how it flowed from there. And I mean, they were also pretty much happy with it. Then it goes to Amir, the next step, as in we have a meeting. And of course, like you said, he's very involved in whatever he endorses. He wants to know thinking behind it. Even, what all they have to offer and why will that help them stand out and whatever else. And he has questions, a point of view. So all of that put together, I mean, eventually we all sat down and narrowed down on one of them saying, this works the best for everyone, handles all the points. So, and then we go ahead and give it our best. And like Kansa was saying, it's like, we know all 3 can do well creatively. Once we get down to the in-depth of it and everything, to every millisecond kind of thing.
I'll tell you, so again, this is something which we debate extensively over here. So do we use him as a father or not? Okay. Because if the product is new, it is an online platform for education. So the role that Amir plays over there has to be very critical so that that this information can be given through him playing this role. Now Shah Rukh also plays the role of a father in Byju's. Now, therefore should we completely stay away from it? But I think the audience who watches it will not compare the two because it's the tone of voice, the nuances and the way Shah Rukh is used and the way Amir is used. That's what separates. They are 2 consumers as fathers. They are 2 people reacting to this new thing. But then what gives you the differences in the way, the tone of voice, the nuancing of it, the pitch of it, all that completely separates. As you go down, it can suddenly end up becoming entirely 2 different things.
Very cool. Now, from a format point of view, just to understand, what kind of content formats are brands going to invest in? And more importantly, how are clients evolving to adapt this thought process? Where do you think this is leading in a couple of years?
So I'll tell you, again, how it's evolved is in the beginning, it was more like a very sponsorship kind of an approach, okay, where the client was interested in saying, okay, how many times can I see my product? How much is my baseline going to be even said there once? Who was my endorser of my brand? Can I see him in it and stuff like that? But that was a very traditional way of looking at it. Then there's no difference between that and a TVC. Now it is more about if this is the audience that I want to reach out to, and these are the topics that attract my audience. Is there something relevant as a brand I have to be present in those areas of discussions? And in what way can I fuel it? And brands are looking at different ways. So it could be even as simple as say encouraging new talent. If that is at the core of the heart of the brand. Like for example, now Zomato or Swiggy, at one point they'll be advertising their services. But at the core, if it is about food, can they be in platforms about food or the love for food and things like that? So that expands their universe. And then they decide what is the role that I can play, fuel this and take it further. So there could be interviews with chefs, it could be recipes given out to you. It could be, suddenly it opens up the world. I think brands are beginning to find touch points and engagement points where I think right now it was first the brand kept in forefront, and then right now it's the audience which is kept in forefront. What could be of interest to them? The audience, I think, is primary and main. And now, how can I fit into their life? Rather than this is what I want to say, and let me say it in different ways.
And what are the formats? Shorter formats, longer formats? Where do you think the brands are going to invest?
I think every time anybody's made a prediction, it's gone toss.
It's like, how can you predict it? Because again, I think it's the story that leads to the length or the format of it. I think whatever stays true to getting out that story in its best form, because we've had this discussion so many times, right? We keep thinking, first we used to do, like for Tanish, 90-second ads we've done. And now it's come down to like everyone is like 20-second IPL ke liye.
Yeah, 6 seconds mein.
And then there's this
New
thing,
tags and everything is
like first 6 seconds when they watch, then it starts dropping, and after that at 15 seconds. So before that, tell my brand name, and between that, tell the story. Rest of the 15 seconds, we don't know what to do. As in, maybe is what we are
like
thinking.
There's somebody I think who just put this up in some platform where Facebook, the new 6-minute of Facebook, is a beautiful film, fantastic. But Facebook on its own is selling this platform of thumb stoppers, which is 10 seconds and 15 seconds. But over here, they themselves are putting up a 6-minute film. So there's no saying as to which format works or which doesn't. I think whichever ends up being true and honest and is good content, whether it's minute long or an hour long, it should work, I guess.
Right. Awesome, gentlemen. That kind of brings us to the end of the first round. Time for a quick plug-in now.
Friend us on your socials and let's connect.
Right then. Moving on to our next segment. This is a rapid fire round. You both can take turns and answer this in one line, in one word. You need to be really prompt at this. So ready for this?
Not really, but yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Great. Can creativity be taught? If yes, 3 ways one can nurture it.
Creativity, yes, can be taught. I think it's not a dreamer's world anymore because there is enough of influences right now which prove that yes, creativity can be a very studied subject. Is not just think about your ideas, think about implementation, think about, like for example, many people have one word or one sentence pitch ideas. But dude, you got to make a screenplay, and screenplay can be studied. So learn how to write a screenplay. That's when you can convert it. Otherwise, it'll just remain as an idea in your head. And I think everybody has an idea. I think people miss on how to give it form. So if you invest and study on how to give it form, then you can make it into a song, you can make it into a novel, you can make it into a play, you can do whatever you want with it. But yeah, then for you to convert it from an idea to a form probably is where, you can learn, you can be taught.
Yeah.
Okay. Individually, your favorite work so far at the script room?
I liked So What Are You Watching, which we did for Netflix.
I liked the PKVK, what we did for Netflix again for Selection Day. That was our first campaign also, and I thought it was, as a format, very interesting. We loved writing it because the challenge in it was 20 seconds to fit in. Actually, even today, when we look at it, it's like, how did we fit in so much? But yeah, we did manage to. It was really entertaining.
Okay. 3 brands you each want to work with at the script room, nationally or internationally?
Internationally, it would be John Lewis. India, I don't know, I have a fascination for a lot of these local brands. So I would want to do something for MTR just because of my love for South Indian food. And I think any new brand which has no baggage.
I don't know. Once we had made a list, when we had started off thinking about the brands we would like to work on and all of that. I think one interesting brand, and that time craft beer had just come up, and beer advertising in India has been pretty kind of okay type. So we really thought Bira would be an interesting brand to work on. So
Yeah, Bira.
yeah, so that was one. And internationally, again, John Lewis and also would be a dream to work on, because throughout our careers, we just keep admiring their work. Although now, not that. But yeah, so that's it. I have Coke and all that would be great to work on, because you haven't seen anything really great. Like when we were younger, as in Pepsi, Coke, and all those wars, and the ads, the insights that would stem out of our Mera Number Kab Aayega and all of that. Generally, so much fun. Maybe what a chance at it. I'd love to work on these collabs.
Nice. One message you each want to give those creative WhatsApp groups which are still skeptical to go and become the next script room would be?
Just go for it, man. I mean, give it a shot. It's like you have to try it. Otherwise, you'll always keep wondering, go to your grave, wondering, saying, what if I had done that? See wherever it goes, because you can always come back to advertising. That's like the worst case scenario I keep looking at, and I guess all of us, there is always something else will be there.
I think, don't think what works for you, what will give you joy, and stick to that. You will find your takers for sure.
Brilliant. 3 reasons why one should collaborate with the script room for their brands.
Yeah, good. We are good. We are hungry, and
Foolish also.
we are. I think we vibe with you just like friends do.
Yeah, it's like keep saying these cliche words. We are partners with brands and all, but that's how it is. I mean, we believe in it, and actually, the best work comes out also like that. I feel, as in most of the brands, when people have trusted us and even gone ahead in a partnership of equals, that's really resulted in good work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anybody who wants to work with somebody as equal partners and feel that given the background of all this work that we have, that yes, something good will come of it, definitely. I mean, we are not hung up like, we are only here for creativity. No, we understand business issues, problems, and work together, and that's when great work happens, I think.
Yeah, we are not the ones who say you have to make the logo smaller. We are not into that zone.
Okay. And the last question, with respect to your business, how does the year 2021 look for you all?
I would think very good. I mean, just being optimistic. But yeah, I think everything's opening up. A lot of our work, which is the pipelines, is starting to come out now. So I'm hoping there'll be more takers for our work once all of that is out.
Yeah, we are hopeful because we created a lot of work, but it's not come out because of the pandemic. So 2021, for sure, even if we don't create, we already have enough that we've created which will come out. That at least seems hopeful.
Very cool. Super, Brown. Well done, both of you. Now, I'm going to move into our last segment. And this is a question that's taken from a thread. The user states, why are modern writers limited to writing novels and scripts for digital or feature films rather than writing poetry, drama, and philosophy? While interest is the most common answer, why isn't it a preference in learning, especially when they want to become great writers?
I actually kind of disagree with this. I don't think that's happening. Because if you're saying poetry has to be like how William Wordsworth wrote, then yeah, maybe you'll find missing. But poetry has taken on its own form. It's like even if you take, say, slam poetry, so it is gaining, like the Spoken Fest. I had recently been to the Spoken Fest. It is full of all these topics on what you're talking about. It is just that it is gaining new ways of expression and it's in different scattered mediums. So you feel like, okay, just because it's not in a novel, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. There is philosophy happening. You can probably go to a story session in an urban cafe and that guy would be pretty much talking the same topics. So I don't know if it's dead.
But just extending that conversation, you both hire a lot of writers. When you interview someone, you might notice that people are interested in writing certain formats and not necessarily adapt to all types. And going back to the question from this user, do you see that trend in the current writers?
Yeah, see, the thing is, so mostly what gives you the confidence that you're a writer? Because somebody told you so. And that somebody, whoever told him that you're a good writer, he has had something to show to that guy for him to say that, yeah, it could be a poem that he wrote or he wrote some funny stand-up and stuff like that. So then there is that confidence that, yes, there is this writing skill within me. But the minute it comes to monetizing it, then it can't be completely about self-expression. Then you have to write for somebody else. And then that will automatically not be completely up your alley. It could be something very different. So how to adapt? That becomes a big challenge. I think that's where they get a little discouraged also, probably, because they're saying, hey man, and they feel that, oh, it's totally dead and there's no creativity left and stuff like that. No, because problem was that you thought that you will find its takers. So pure form of writing, pure self-expression. I mean, it's very rare that you will find wanting to pick that up.
Great. Thank you, gentlemen. This has been a fun chat, and hosting two people for the first time was actually a good experience. And this is a good juice of stories and storytelling. So thank you so much for your time. And I hope you had a good time. And I wish the script room all the very best for its future projects.
Good fun.
Correct.
Thank you so much. Super. Great chatting.
Thank you so much. So that brings us to the end of this episode. Get your fingers to work and time to create more content. If you have any feedback, mail it to thedeliberatetalks@gmail.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Audible, and the social media platforms of The Deliberate Talks and the Pixelated Egg Digital Ventures. Join in this Friday for a bonus episode, and until then, have a wonderful week ahead, and don't forget to inspire and be inspired.